aren't that many removal spells from the mono white hammer deck. So I think it's more likely that Travis is going to be the one staring while David continues to do their prowess things. But it is possible, though not very likely, that this game slows down.
Okay. All right. Well, let's laser focus in on what is happening. I believe David is taking a mulligan down to 6. And Travis, being the person highest seated in the Swiss, does get to go on the play. And this is a pretty fun start here. Ginger Brute down and getting in already. And I think that's a Memnut on the battlefield already as well.
Yeah, and just to give our viewers at home a reminder, this was a top 12, not a top 8. So David did make it in as the 11th finishing person after Swiss, won their round of 12 match, won their quarterfinals, breaking serve, so is now here in the top 4, having locked up that invite for the regional championship.
David is going to bauble themselves with that fetch land out. So getting more information, deciding, nope, I don't want to draw that top card, so I'm going to fetch it away. And here is Basic Mountain for David. Is is this a Blood Moon deck, or is this David kind of just trying to save as much life total as possible money?
I think this is David trying to save as much life as possible while also recognizing that their deck doesn't really have a desperate need for blue mana early. You do have 4 copies of Expressive Iteration as well as Sprite Dragon available to you. But if your hand is looking all mono red and you're not expecting that to be the relevant angle of attack, then just try to preserve a bit of life total and buy yourself more time while you're on the back foot seems like maybe the smart choice.
So it's going to be Lava Dart targeting the Ginger Brute. That's going to succeed. Our poor little biscuit-based friend going to the graveyard. And the Stoneforge Mystic, the follow-up. So a nice turn two here for Travis. Gonna get that hammer. And David has to figure out a way of, I guess, anticipating Marnie a little bit of what Travis is gonna do the next couple of turns.
Yeah, I think Travis's best turns next turn include a Cigar de Zade or a Pure Steel Paladin. Of course, Pure Steel Paladin, there are currently the hammer would be the second artifact, so would still be lacking a third artifact to get that Metalcraft online and have that 0 equip cost. But there are some very scary turns available for Travis. One thing that Travis has to be aware of is that copy of Lava Dart still sitting in David's graveyard. So if Travis goes for the equip on the Mem Knight, especially something like Cigarda's Aid, could get blown out.
Mm.
Just needs to be aware of that. But as long as Travis does play around the things that they at least know about, does secure some consistency here and resilience against what David has.
David is gonna shock this time. Blue mana up and available. Soulscar Mage is down. And yeah, this is gonna be lightning bolt straight away on the Stoneforge Mystic. So David is actually tapped out with Soulscar Mage down, facing this Mem Knight. Let's see what Travis can do this turn. Saga goes to 2. And it does have quite a few cards to work with, although keeping them close to his chest, we can't quite get a glance yet at what's going on. Oh, it's just going to be the turn pass back money.
Yeah, that Urza Saga makes it real appealing for you to just pass back if you don't have anything too impressive going on. Making constructs is going to be pretty powerful here. I did see a copy of Silent Clearing in Travis's hand earlier. It looks like there is also another copy of
Oh,
Memnite,
there's blacksmith
perhaps.
skill. I think
There
there's
is. Mhm,
blacksmith skill, yeah.
that's the one.
And
Really
then the hammer that was
beautiful name.
gotten.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that card. Meanwhile, though, David is going to be exploring that creative side, expressive iteration, doing what it does best, finding that third land drop. And here comes Soulscar Mage with the prowess trigger. In for 2.
Soulscar Mage getting the damage across. That copy of Lava Dart still in the graveyard, able to deal with the Mennite, but not this construct if That is what Travis goes for. And I think this turn is about to get out of hand as Travis is able to uh, get a second copy of Hammer if they would like off of the Urza Saga after floating some mana and then go for something like Pure Steel equipped double Hammer and ask some questions of David.
Okay, so first things first, that third law counter is going to go on. In response, Travis is going to make the construct. So that's two constructs down. They are both 3/3s currently. Travis does get an artifact from their deck. It has to be 1 or 0. Usually you'd often see hammer players get hammer, but hammer is not the only option. I believe Shadow Spear pretty common in these decks, as well as the occasional other, you know, tech piece.
Yeah, Shadowspear would look pretty tempting there, but Travis just opting to get Springleaf Drum. Pretty interesting, just giving themselves more mana to work with in this situation.
Okay.
Identifying that probably doesn't need the power of Shadowspear, considering they do have Steel Shaper's Gift. They're one of copy in hand, so they are able to go and get it if they would like, anyways, and diversify some of their options here instead.
Constructs are 4/4s. And there we go. The mana is being made with the Memnite, silent clearing as well. And what? Okay, that's still Shaper's Gift.
David just confirming that the Memnite is going into the drum for mana, what color is being made, and white used for Steel Shaper's Gift. And there's the Shadow Spear, which I think is a pretty devastating card to have as
Hmm.
on a white hammer against this Izzet Prowess deck. We've seen the close margins that this Prowess deck with only one creature can win by. In the previous match that we saw David on camera, won by exactly enough damage. So the fact that David only has the one Soulscar Mage on the battlefield means that Travis can start asking questions with just these constructs in this Shadow Spear, and David will be forced to have answers or the game will slip away. And at the end of it, if David were to have the answers, Travis still has Pure Steel Paladin plus Hammer in hand as the follow up.
Let's see what's happening here first, though. The construct is getting in for 5, right? That those are both 5/5s. There's 5 artifacts on the battlefield. Shadow Spear is down, but Travis did not have the mana to both get it with Steel Shaper's Gift and play it and equip it all in the same turn. So David does have a little bit of a turn, shall we say, a bit of a beat to be able to maybe find something. But I think if you're reading the body language, maybe a little bit of these two players, especially pre-board, it's tough, I think, for these red damage based decks to do a lot about a board like this.
Yeah, David is lava darting the Memnite before damage just to shrink down that construct by one. Take
Okay.
4 damage here rather than 5 and get a creature off the board. But these are desperate plays at the moment. These constructs are very large, and David is pretty low on resources. Two copy of Lava Dart in the graveyard does have some potential explosive implications. But
Mm.
as things stand, I think David's best hope would maybe be an Underworld Breach, and may have the tools to string some things together from that. I do see a Monster Swiss Spear in hand, but all in all, pretty dire straits.
There's a single copy of Unholy Heat, I believe, in David's main deck. So that could be an answer to a larger construct if Delirium is online. And I think we're at least close with Bauble land starts in the graveyard. Looks like a bit of a shake of the head. Dragon's Rage Channel and Monastery Swiss Beer. We're going to get a count. I believe that is Delirium because instant sorcery, land, and that Bauble.
Yeah, I count Delirium for David, so that Dragon 3 Chandler is a 3/3. Will be forced to block next turn, but not able to get any attacks in that turn. And now Travis feels like this is the time to go. Cast the hammer first, then the pure steel, and if David doesn't have a lightning bolt here to deal with the pure steel, may have to just double lava dart it in response to the first equip because if Travis gets both hammer and shadow spear on something, that is going to all but do it.
Yeah, so this is exactly playing out as you say, Marnie. Pure Steel comes down. Travis says, I would like to equip Hammer to this construct for 0 mana because I have Metalcraft. And David says, okay, just hold on a second. That's a land in hand, David. The 2 lava darts means that David would have to give up quite a lot, should we say, to just survive.
Yeah, it feels like an impossible situation either way. The only difference is once that Shadow Spear is on the construct, giving it trample, the game will literally just end. So,
Right.
unfortunately for David, there isn't really a choice to put yourself down 2 lands, even though you fully understand that you're likely going to lose the game because you won't be able to come back with only 2 lands on the battlefield going into the next turn.
David does fetch first though, because there are going to be 2 triggers off that Dragon's Rage channel, the Surveil. And that at least, you know, does serve some purpose, maybe digs David towards something, anything that could help afterwards.
And it's
But
nice to
really
see,
having a look at the deck, it just doesn't, it's just Underworld Breach is really the one card that has that explosive effect, as you said.
yeah, it is nice to see some like friendly banter. It seems like going on between the players, some discussion. Not maybe entirely due to the fact we're in the top four, but certainly does help that the players have locked up the RC invite already. So maybe a bit more relaxed. They are just playing for the title and for the extra prize money now. And I think
Oh, yeah. As
a
the
more
backs of
relaxed.
and Travis very relaxed going in, knew that they had that protection spell ready. So that is game one going to Mono White Hammer in the hands of Travis Williams in the semifinals here of SCGCon New Jersey. We are bringing you coverage of the modern 20K as the players look to their sideboards. Mono White Hammer, tried and tested, been around the block a couple of times. Is it
Look, I'm not going to judge how players choose to deal with the annoying non-basic lands that opponents may. Okay, I'm not going to judge.
isn't that your job?
Nope, no judgment.
All right.
Nope.
Alpine Moon is also in the sideboard, but we don't really know if that's really necessary. Well, I don't know. As a saga is, of course, a big problem. The next nexuses, nexi, however you want to phrase that, are a problem as well. So we could potentially see a bit of Alpine Moon action. What we are seeing is a bit of Monastery Swift Spear action on the first turn here for David Nunes, and that's kind of where you want to be with this
Yeah,
hand.
Travis starts with a Cigar de Zade and a zero-cost creature, which is where Hammer wants to be. So both players off to pretty good starts. One of the cards that I'm looking at in Travis's sideboard, 3 copies of Sanctifier on deck.
Oh,
Pro Red, pretty
oof.
good words against this Izzet Prowess list. So if Travis has one of those on turn two, this game is going to turn very quickly.
Well, but you see, Imani, that's where the prismatic endings come in. It's levels above levels above levels.
Levels above levels above levels, and we'll see if this Wooded Foothills starts things off by getting that copy of Sacred Foundry to maybe indicate to us what David's draw looks like here, as we don't have a good look at their hand. And just to update everyone, we are in our top four. We are watching Hammer against Izzet Prowess, and on the other side of the bracket, we do have Rakdos Scam against Azorius Control.
So yeah, looking to find our finalists here in these 2 matches. Stoneforge Mystic is the play on turn number 2 for Travis. That's going to go digging, and it is going to be Hammer. So getting that copy of Hammer secure in hand, Ornithopter on the battlefield plus Stoneforge, and here's Lightning Bolts. Good old Lightning Bolts.
Yeah, there is still the Cigar de Zade on the battlefield, so this hammer is very much online. Travis would like a better target to maybe put it on than an ornithopter, but certainly if the shields are down from David, Travis will take the opportunity to get that hammer on a creature. Looks like David does go fetching for a steam vent, so perhaps doesn't quite have that white mana yet, or maybe just has an expressive iteration that they would like to fire off this turn.
Let's find out. Iteration, I find, obviously a great card, right? Just fantastic card. Everyone loves casting it, best counter ever printed, whatever. But it can feel kind of clunky in these matchups when your deck really only needs 3 lands to live for the whole game, and you're spending 2 mana, not dealing with something your opponent is doing. It's a real cost being that
Yeah,
extreme.
definitely. Because one of the issues is a lot of times Izzet Prowess would love to be play iteration and putting a one cost card in hand, playing a one cost card with their 3 mana. But because you can't afford to put the shields down against this one white hammer deck, you have to be representing some form of interaction. For example, the Ornithopter. If David was to cast an iteration, they would either be hitting a land, which is not what they're looking for, or they're burning a card because they have to leave mana up. So there aren't really good options. And as you mentioned, that leads to the card just feeling clunky in this sort of matchup.
So there's a second copy of Sagada's Aid in Travis's hand. I'm trying to do my best s- zoom enhance protocol. Um, I think that there's the hammer that we know about. There's perfect hand cam. Another Nexus coming down, and yeah, I guess why not? Let's back up Sagada's Aid.
Yeah, well,
Is
this is
that
why
a third Sagada's Aid? I think Travis just has all the help in the world
I
available.
believe Travis has had his third Ink Moth Nexus, third Sigarda's Aid, a hammer. Sorry,
Okay.
that might be two silent clears. Okay, it's two silent clearings, a third
Yeah.
Sigarda's Aid, and a hammer. And interestingly enough, Sigarda's Aid is not exactly redundant in multiples because each Sigarda's Aid creates an equip trigger for your equipment.
Oh,
So if you were to play a
huh.
hammer and target two different creatures with the aid triggers, David would need to have double removal spell to deal with both of those creatures. So it is this contingency plan against how David is primarily hoping to interact with this Colossus Hammer plan that Travis has here.
Just gonna pass the turn back, not gonna go for the hammer on Travis's turn. There's that Sacred Foundry, so maybe that's why David fetched Steeman's money. He just already had it going. And it's just gonna be the 2 prowess creatures coming in for a little damage. Travis down to 13. David keeping the mana open, keeping Travis guessing.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if Travis tried to wait one more turn and just go for a double Inkmoth Nexus finish next turn. I think that may be Travis's best out towards winning this game, considering if you do just go for hammer on this Ornithopter, you do buy a decent amount of time against your opponent, but you remove most avenues of winning the game in the short term, which does favor David um, immediately, I believe.
Right.
I'm curious to see if we are going to see just the hammer with double aid line this turn. And you, of course, target the Ichmoth Nexus first. And if David doesn't have anything, then you win the game. If they do, you go for the Ornithopter instead.
Okay. So here is that line that you were talking about. It is the hammer. And you can see Travis pointing very clearly 2 triggers. The first trigger, I'm going to be targeting the Nexus. The second trigger, I'm going to be targeting the Ornithopter.
David asks,
And
"Is that
David
how it
says,
works?" Travis says,
yeah,
"Yes."
yep, that is indeed how it works. So I guess that's resolved. Oh,
That's the
and
path
there
to
is
exile.
that. That's the path. The
The one.
stunning, by the way, the stunning promo stained glass path to exile
Yeah, you did see David
that Sarah
confirm.
art.
Okay, so 8 triggers are resolved. They're off the stack. Travis nodded yes, and that is when David went for that path to exile. So making sure
Perfect.
all the timings are by the book here, and that's a huge problem because that is the only real instant speed answer that David could have had in that spot once the hammer becomes equipped. The one of Path to Exile for
One
prismatic
of.
mistakes, but those are sorceries. So having that Path to Exile just devastating there. And now Travis is very far behind, it feels like.
That was so sick. That was so sick, that path. I am, like the one off out the board on the splash. Just these are the moments that you put these cards in your deck for. And David's like, yeah,
And Ryu,
great.
you know what else is sick? One of our
Yeah.
sponsors this weekend, Drip. Everybody in the chat, please type exclamation mark Drip to find out more about Drip and what they are doing, supporting us on the stream.
I
That's
think there's also
pretty
a
sick.
giveaway, I believe, if you just type drip no exclamation mark.
Ooh,
So
double
you could do
value.
both, but I would suggest no exclamation mark to enter the giveaway, as Underworld Breach is going to come on the battlefield and give away maybe a bunch of free spells to David. Who knows? Um, but yeah,
That's
if you
great.
and it's
Feels
US
so
based
burned.
only, which for the two Canadian casters in the booth right now is a huge dagger. But we hope that somebody in the chat gets that awesome collector's pack for free from courtesy of Drip, who are sponsoring us this weekend. And Dave, for David, this looks like, this is closing out the game, right? Pretty quickly. This is a lot of damage. Travis at 13, two
That is
prowess
lethal.
triggers,
Yeah.
plus the damage to the face, and yep, they're gonna pack it up. We're gonna see a decider between Travis Williams and David Nunes. Mono White Hammer against Izzet. That Path to Exile, certainly the MVP of that particular game for David.
Oh, absolutely. And this isn't anything new. This is something that we've seen going as far back as.
Just gonna play out a Fury. Of course, this Fury not actually. Oh, we're gonna jump back over to our main feature match now with Travis and David. We'll check back in on the Blue Eye Control match later. They'll still be going after this is done.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that unless something absolutely unbelievable happens, William is likely to lose that game. So there will be a third game between Andrew and William waiting for us when we finish up here. This match has been pretty brisk. The games have not been dragging, fortunately, between Hammer and Prowess, but we are starting things off with a mulligan from Travis, and on the play, not ideally where you want to be, but Hammer is a deck that mulligans pretty well in this spot, as you only need a few tools put together to really have that explosive start.
Hey, see what Travis can find off this mulligan. Is there a huge play draw difference in the sense of, like, do you side different cards in on the play and draw in this matchup?
I don't think in this matchup specifically do you sideboard differently. A lot of the tools that Prowess has access to, for example, you do want in both cases the prismatic ending and the path exile you want regardless. But of course, play draw does mean that you have to play a bit more careful. If you're the Prowess deck, for example, and Travis leads off with Lad Sigarda's Aid zero drop, then suddenly the Izzet deck doesn't have the luxury of deploying a creature on turn one because they may
Right.
need to leave up a removal spell. So that's the biggest difference that the play draw makes is how much liberty the other player has in terms of just tapping out to deploy threats. Um, I think one thing that we haven't seen from Travis, unfortunately, so far this match is Esper Sentinel, which is a
Right.
card that is usually very important against these heavy spell based decks. So not having those has been pretty brutal so far, and so have
Oh,
these hands.
these hands have been horrendous. Travis is down to 5. Oh my
And
goodness,
four,
not like this. That was a 0 lander for Travis. And this is nightmare scenario. In the decider of your top 4, going to 4. And,
yeah,
if there's a deck in Modern that can do it with 4 cards, you'd maybe, you think of Tron in the olden days, and maybe you think Hammer could potentially put the pieces together with just 4 cards. But certainly, I think if you're on David's side of the battlefield, you're feeling a little bit more relaxed,
yeah,
maybe.
definitely. One of the things I think that is the scariest for Travis in the spot is David kept a 7 that they're happy with. So you have to feel like you are going to be fighting through some amount of interaction and removal, and that is typically the death knell when you're trying to fight on a mulligan to four. Is yes, you can put together some kind of game plan, but that game plan is usually fragile and falls apart to most interaction.
So this one is looking like a keep. So it's two planes, saga, two aids, path, and
A
X,
paladin, I believe.
a paladin. Okay, so this hand is viable, should we say? And certainly, I think Travis will have no choice but to keep it. But thinking a lot about the exact composition,
Yeah, it looks like Travis may be keeping uh double plane saga and aid, which I think is the most powerful raw hand that Travis can keep. I don't think you're in a position where you can keep your interaction like path. You're definitely not keeping the redundant copy of aid, and I think aid is just more powerful than paladin in this matchup, considering
right?
paladin dies to all of the removal spells. So Travis keeping the best hand that they could on this four, but this is not a great position.
David's gonna kick things off on the draw with Misha's bauble, baubling themselves. Doesn't like the top card, so we are going to go to the library, fetch that top card away, have a shuffle. And Travis really with that kind of Hail Mary hand, right? Like you've got to just deploy all your threats and just hope that it works out.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the good things is Travis has Urza Saga. Urza Saga with three lands means that Travis is hoping to make two constructs out of it, and then go fetch something like a hammer the Cigar Aid can equip. Um, so there are still powerful lines available to Travis, but really hoping to just not see any form of interaction from David, ideally.
Soulscar Mage is the turn one play for David. I think against playing Sagada's Aid, you're not really thinking that you're going to get comboed out on turn two.
Yeah, you're feeling pretty safe. It's possible that if David has with that Sacred Foundry that we saw fetched, it does have a copy of something like a Prismatic Ending in hand. So they were confident that even if Travis was able to go creature hammer that turn, and get the hammer on a creature, David would still be able to Prismatic Ending and exile the creature and reset the board position. And that's why
Right.
we see the no fear tap out.
Here's Manamorphose now. That's going to be the first prowess trigger, and of course, replacing itself with the 2 mana of any color and with a card. I think we're just counting prowess triggers now with that red die. Second Manamorphose, same again. And
Go
this is
again.
something that we've seen many a time, shall we say, in this format.
Yeah,
Monastery Swiss Spear.
one mana left for David.
Is there a lightning bolt, a lava dart, something? There is. It's a lightning bolt to your face. So Swiss Spear is 2 power and Soul Scar Mage is 4 power. That's 6 plus the lightning bolt. That's 9 damage this turn, Marnie. And the window is closing for Travis pretty quickly.
Yeah, this is definitely the power of Izzet Prowess when they're able to do their thing. That was turn two, and Travis's life total has essentially been halved. Uh, at least is able to make a construct now, but a 1/1 construct is not doing an overly impressive job of standing up to what Prowess is presenting here. At least, fortunately for Travis, two Metamorphose is gone, having only been used on one creature. So a lot of the really explosive power from David has been removed at this point. Oh, this is
Okay.
this is the
Hello.
Colossus Hammer, excuse me, on a Stoneforge Mystic and a pass back. But if David has a prismatic ending or Path to Exile here, I think that should be the game or pretty close to it. Travis has one more shot at a rebuy with Urza Saga making a construct and then getting another hammer from the deck at worst. But
Hmm.
things are pretty dire if David is able to get through the Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah, I mean, that is obviously a huge blocker in the way, and getting it down before the untap certainly very key when your opponent is playing a lot of these red damage based removal spells. But as we saw last game, that very sick Path to Exile for David, and of course, as we know, Prismatic Endings in the deck as well. It's not all damage based. Oh my goodness, what is happening here? It's
Yeah, the
Oh
Path to
my god,
Exile.
that is so crazy. Path to Exile on Stoneforge Mystic. Bolt you, dart you. That's four. That's three prowess triggers on each creature. Those are
I
four
think
force coming
it's
in. And
4. I think David flashed back the Lava Dart as well as they did
oh
put a
yes.
mountain in the
Yeah,
graveyard, so
that's gonna do it. David Nunes with Izzet Prowess taking it down over